I die, so I got some tunes that are hype, always speaking true tunes that I write. That certain guys lie, I just spit truth in my life, don't lie, cause I'm using my mind. Writing bars is what I'm doing tonight. That I smashed it last time, you do this time with 2 mad lines. I got the big line, said you're bad, right? I can't believe it. About me though, with my real flow, bars lift off like Heathrow. So you wanna see snow? I got man that was shocked and just by the kilo. In fact, I cannot believe it. It's been 3 years on the street, take man, I bust tracks that are decent. We heard them in rave, man them a wheel it, make them feel it. I spit real shit, Joker right now, hear me speaking. It don't matter if you shot draws, me and my boys were on form. We'll butter the mic like say it's war. In fact, no I don't, cause your bars are shit though. Flop your show, my bars are sick though, rock your boat.
One day I'll be legit with a big whip, chilling in my yard with a flick chick, getting my dick licked, sick shit in the studio. We make a hit quick and it's a big hit, and yeah we flip shit. Don't ever try to start on a serious thing, you must your lip grip. I got potential, I'm influential, flow is essential to get the place high, to make the event eventful. No I don't mean I'm torrential, me gonna blow is eventual, please make sense fool. Cause if you're talking lies and get caught on road, man I'll go mental.
In myself, all I know is I can do this. Call me Daniel, I gotta get through this. Truth is, I don't really care who is. In my crew, did what we did, do what we do. Also them, me or you. Told you I don't really care who's who. In the woods, yeah we got dogs, dogs in hoods with drugs. No mugs, that's how we do in the woods. In my bars, cause big bars, make big stars. Stars in bags, stars in jars. Won't stop till I got more bars than Mars. In the struggle, in the ends there's too much trouble. Niggas getting stabbed and murked on a double. One day someone will push your bubble. In the potential, every Monday to Sunday's eventful. You want beef, I'll give you a wretchful. Talk about weights, I've got a bench full. In the dreams, the day I get cash, but not from the fiends. My crew's not like the rest, it flows together and runs like streams. I'll get there, some say get here, some say get where. Cause I got bars that I bet they're far too big for them man to set here.
Hey guys, how's it going? Let's talk about NXT. I'll be honest guys, this was a decent episode of NXT. There's one major talking point that I'm sure that most people would want to be talking about right now when it comes to NXT, and that is of course the return of the $1 Million Championship title belt. I'll talk about it when I get to it, but you know, I thought I would announce that from the start of this. I don't want to keep people hanging around unnecessarily for too long. But as I say guys, shout out to anyone who will be here, shout out to anyone who is here, and shout out to anyone who will take part in the actual stream itself. To the episode of NXT, all I can say off the bat guys is I haven't really been that much into NXT, you know, over the last, say, year or two. But since NXT has been separate from AEW, I have started to get into some of the storylines and some of the characters that are part of the NXT brand. Personally, myself, there's enough bad WWE content on TV. And it's not a WWE versus AEW or anything like that situation. Let me just get up the actual picture that I meant to actually use as the background. I don't know why I've still got the shield block on. But yeah, as I said, guys, I'm not the biggest fan of NXT. I'm not going to claim to be that. Nor am I the biggest fan of WWE. So you have to bear with me. There are going to be times, if you're new here, that I am going to just let loose on WWE because of some of the bad booking and bad situations that happen as we now get into this. So yeah, NXT from the 8th of June, 2021. The opening match is Oney Lorcan versus Austin Theory. I'll be honest, and I've got it written here, these two guys were on WWE Raw. I apologise if you can see the screen. It says Dark Side of the Ring. Of course, this is not Dark Side of the Ring. I haven't changed the title for the screen. It's just amateur stuff, I know. But either way, these two guys were on WWE Raw about a year or so ago. You would have thought by now that they would be main event guys in NXT. Maybe they were just being used at the time when WWE needed some underneath talent. Or maybe WWE just pushed them too quickly and now they've realised. And I'm not taking nothing away from these guys' actual in-ring ability. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm talking about is just characteristics. You know, they even called out Austin Theory for making mistakes in the match, not focusing on the match. It was a pretty basic match, to be honest, and you would expect these two to have this kind of match. I just don't think that Austin Theory is ready for, you know, the big time. This is a guy who probably shouldn't be on. He's a good wrestler, but I just think, should he be being featured on any of the 3 shows? Are there better wrestlers on the 3 shows? Whereas with Lorcan, he seems like a guy who NXT is pretty much his ceiling. Like, I can't really see him getting past that. And like I say, I'm surprised that these two were on... Well, I'm surprised these two are still where they are now when they were on Raw about a year ago. So yeah, we get an appearance from Pete Dunne. He comes out during the match. And this is where the match actually started to pick up. And it got my attention. There was a Spanish fly from Austin Theory to One Lorcan. It was like a springboard Spanish fly where you do a backflip into a sort of like rock bottom kind of maneuver. It was very impressive. It was unnecessary, but it was very impressive. And I will give Austin Theory credit for that. The match then spilled to the outside for a second and Johnny Gargano came out and him and Pete Dunne brawled. And with that, there was, I'm not going to say it was a distraction. It wasn't really a distraction. It was more of just the match got broken up. Theory was, and then once again, I'm not going to use the word I'm not going to use the phrase in control. He was just in the match. He was just competing. And then after that, and immediately after the brawl between Gargano and Pete Dunne on the outside, he ended up getting, I don't know if he just got immediately rolled up or he just got hit with a move and then pinned. I think he got hit with a move and then pinned. I don't think it was as quick as him just getting rolled up, but maybe I'm wrong. And I don't have that written here. Overall, this match was a decent opener. You can tell that NXT isn't competing with anyone on a Tuesday night at the same time because they can relax and have matches like this. And as I said earlier, these two are supposed to be very, very handy wrestlers in the ring. I'd argue and say that they probably shouldn't be in the ring with each other. I think that they should both be being used to elevate different people rather than one being elevated over the other. But maybe that's just me, having seen them on WWE Raw, as I've said a few times now, a year or so ago. But yeah, only Lorcan gets the win in that match. We get a promo from Santos Escobar and the Legado del Fantasma cartel trio, whatever you want to call them. And they are speaking mainly about Bronson Reed, but they do obviously, well, in fact, no, they just talk about Bronson Reed. In fact, I can't remember if they even said anything about MSK. Bronson Reed then comes out immediately as they start talking about him, and which says that they probably didn't say anything about MSK, to be honest. And then as soon as Bronson says, let's cut the talking, and tries to get, well, they challenge Bronson to get in the ring. And of course, he's a big hoss and he decides, you know what, I'm going to get in the ring. So he gets in the ring. MSK were a little bit off timing, like they could have timed this a little bit better. But MSK come out to make the save, and then there is a bit of an exchange between the groups of people, well, between the two groups, and then there will be apparently a winner takes all match at the In Your House upcoming on Sunday, I think it is, there'll be a winner-takes-all match where the North American Championship and the Tag Team Championships, respectively, are on the line, and they will be defended in a match where if any of Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma get the win, they will win the belts respectively. Of course, you know, this, I don't know if it's an open situation where, imagine if one of them pins the tag team champion, they win the tag team championships, or if they pin Bronson Reed, but they did say winner takes all. Winner takes all sounds to me like it's going to be whichever person pins the other person, it's either a retain for all three, or the challengers are going to win all three belts, meaning Santos will become the North American champion, and then Legado del Fantasma would become the tag team champions. But I guess we'll see what they do with it on Sunday at In Your House. You know, this is one of them matches where it's like, I don't want to blow it up and say, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It probably will be one of the better matches on the night because of the different styles and combinations. It'll be high flying, but Bronson Reed being in there is obviously a wild card, and that makes it so that, you know, that's got my attention. Somebody of his size being able to, you know, get over his power and presence in NXT, because he's not going to always be able to do that fighting and defending the North American Championship. Because, of course, most people who will be fighting for that are probably going to be heavyweights or, you know, reasonably sized people. But then saying that, where are the heavyweights that are in NXT? You know, I think at the moment I've probably seen maybe 2 or 3. And yes, that is me taking a bite. I just literally have had 2 hours of watching NXT and not had anything to eat in that time. And I didn't have anything to eat previously, but you know what I mean. But yeah, once again, like I say, because I noticed on the Dark Side of the Ring review and the Raw review, some people are watching back. Shout out to anyone who's watching back. I'm going to shout you out now. Also, at the end of that segment, we also get the appearance of Hit Row. There's no confrontation between them and the Santos and Legado del Fantasma, and there's no confrontation between them and MSK and Bronson Reed. But there is a lot of steering, and they made their presence known, and they made their presence known that they also have their eyes on the various championships that are involved in that feud. You could just tell how it went. We get Swerve versus Killian Dane. I'm not going to lie, this was a bit of a mismatch. Obviously, Killian Dane is another one of the heavyweights that are in NXT, and Swerve is, of course, more like a cruiserweight. I would have preferred to have seen, and people might even be like, are you crazy? But I actually would have preferred to have seen maybe Top Dollar versus Killian Dane. I'm not sure that having Swerve go over bigger wrestlers at this point is beneficial, because you can clearly tell how he is going to be able to win these matches. And yes, that is a spoiler, guys. Swerve did defeat Killian Dane. Basically, Swerve had the whole of Top Row with him. Hit Row, not Top Row. I've been calling them Top Row. It's Top Dollar and Hit Row. But yeah, Swerve won because there was so much distractions and stuff going off on the outside during the match. And then Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud, I still think of him as Rockstar Spud. He dived off the ring apron or off the ring steps, taking out one of the members of Hit Row. And then he got picked up by Top Dollar and just slammed onto the apron and taken out. And that's what distracted Killian Dane. And then Swerve got the win against Killian Dane. So it was pretty much, you know, just a s'mores on the outside that caused Swerve to win. this was a bit of a mismatch. I'm not here to sugarcoat NXT and pretend like, oh yeah, I like these guys, so these guys, whatever, these guys are great. I'm not going to do that. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to be perfectly honest and say I didn't enjoy this one bit. I think it was, like I say, I think it was a bit of a mismatch. And I don't think they should have been in the ring together either. I'll take this time out now to say, like, because I am rushing a little bit through the NXT thing, and there was more to this. There was more to the Hit Row segment and the match. But as I said, I don't really know what people want me to say about the match. I will say I am interested in Hit Row as a group. They seem to have the ability to be taken seriously, but the problem that I've got with this is, for once, and I know some people would once again probably say that I'm mad, but for once I think that Hit Row could have been, maybe take Swerve out and put Cedric Alexander in there, and maybe this Hit Row group could have been Cedric Alexander's group in the main roster of Raw. Because it's alright having these guys and having Cedric and Shelton, guys like that, with no purpose on Raw apart from, being somewhere in the mid-card. But this would have been probably the best idea for them on the main roster. Hold on, guys. Let me just make sure that you can actually hear me. Let me just make sure you guys can actually hear me, because I don't really know if the microphone is switched on properly or not. Yeah, you can hear me. Sorry about that, guys. I'll never be able to get through one of these reviews without actually having to check that everything is still working, because you never know. You never know how long you can get into these reviews and then all of a sudden the microphone's not been working for 10 minutes or whatever. And like I say, with this being on demand, if there's not people that are in the chat to keep it thinking, you don't really know what's going on. And that's the unfortunate thing for us small-time YouTube. There is 4 people in the chat, but it seems to me like a lot of people, I don't know if it's just one of the followers that have just got me on blast listening in the background, or maybe it's just my phone hasn't updated and there's less people. But I know I've got one device on it, so that accounts for one of the 4. And like I keep saying every week, it's just gone down to 3 now, so I presume that it's just people in and out. It'll probably be one of them streams that end up getting quite a lot of views, but people don't really communicate. I mean, obviously, with the title of it, I'm aware that people would be quite disgruntled, like, they might think I'm trying to pretend like this is the actual NXT show, and it's not. It's just me talking about the NXT show. It does even say review and reaction in the headline. I know the difference between how to con people and get them to watch your videos. I don't care what people think about me posting potential clickbait or whatever it is. It doesn't bother me. I'm entitled to do whatever I want with my YouTube channel. And I can say that I am almost at the borderline of being monetized on this platform, just from sheer hard work and, dedication to be able to keep putting up videos over the last 16 to 18 months. I never thought that I would ever be able to get to the point where I can taste it, guys. I got close to, about 3 weeks ago, like I was at like 3,917 watch hours, and then I lost like 240 hours overnight because of something that I must have done last year, because that's the joy of being where you're... that's the joy of where you've been on YouTube for more than a year. But as I said, I don't expect anyone to give me anything, to owe me anything. I just want to get to that stage where, to be perfectly honest, I can post whatever I want. People can be disgruntled with that if they want. The fact is the moment that I get to that stage where you've actually got to run adverts to watch my videos, that's all I want to do. I want to smile. And then I'll probably start taking YouTube a little bit more seriously and, actually, like I'm doing now, and I'll be honest, this is the thing that I'm saying. I'm all good for the watch time, But when I get to the monetization period, I don't just want to sit here talking to 4 or 5 people. I actually want to talk to, 15, 20, 30 people at one time. And I'll admit, there has been a bit of an issue with my channel over the last few months. Like, I don't know, or the last month since I reached 1,000 subscribers. I'm now at 1,050 subscribers. It's not like I'm going to get sunk below 1,000 just because YouTube goes on a bit of a sweep and I lose 5 or 6 subs. So it's not like I'm getting punished for random stuff. I don't know why YouTube just feels the need to put me in this position, but I'll say it for a fact. Over the last 3 to 4 weeks, I have noticed, and I did say it and I will say it again now. I said it the other day and I'll say it again now. There used to be quite a few people who would come to my lives, and my lives were basically based around, toxic stuff. And it's almost like since I tried to get real, either those people don't come around no more, or maybe they've got other things going on. I don't know. But like I say, I appreciate everybody who watches back. And, I can make that announcement and say that hopefully the next time when people do click on my channel, they will have to run an advert. Because I can tell you guys, I am literally on the borderline of monetization. That's if, obviously, I have to say I'm on the borderline of applying for monetization. I don't even know if YouTube would even allow me to be monetized. I don't exactly just post one subject. It's quite hard to promote my channel, and that's why I'm suffering. But I think it might just come to the point where once I get to the monetization period, I'm probably just going to delete a lot of the wrestling videos that have got less than, say, 200 views. Get some of the real clickbaited, whether they've got thousands of views on them or not. There's a lot of videos that have got 1,000 views on them, but they've got so many dislikes where it's like the channel's being hurt because of them. But then I suppose, what do I really care? I only need 1 or 2 people to click those adverts. I'm getting my revenue, you know what I mean? Whatever. That's all it will come down to. I've just got to work out what this process is with YouTube. It's something that I never would have expected. Like I said, and I apologize if I keep saying like I said, but it is like I said, and like I have said for a while. I never expected to come to YouTube and get monetized. No, I never even considered that until 850 subscribers, and I thought, where am I for watch time? Where am I? And I was somewhere between 2,500 and 2,000 and 3,000. And then when I reached 1,000, I was in the early 3,000. I was in the early 3,000s watch time. And then in the first week or two of hitting 1,000, I got to like 3,900, like I said, an early 3,900, and then the channel got stung. I think in a month I must have lost 400 hours watch time. So I've had to redo it all over again, and here we are again. That's why there's been more lives on the channel recently than there was before, because of that. But yeah, back to the NXT review, because I don't want to have to keep... In fact, I'm lying. I'm doing that on purpose. I do them little talking bits in between because it makes the reviews longer. And I want to make this review run somewhere about the same length of time that the episode would have run. So about 80 minutes long. Yeah, shout out to the Holiday Christopher Mason in the chat. It was a good episode. I was just announcing to people in the time that I am very close to getting the moolah and getting, I say moolah, but I'm attempting to get to the point of being monetized. Like I can at least apply for monetization soon, because I am very close to getting that 4,000 watch hours, and that's been the most difficult thing. Because if you look at my channel, I've had over 500,000 views, but if you just post 20-second clips, it's very hard to get that watch time up. But as I said to everybody before, I appreciate everyone for coming out. I appreciate everyone for supporting the channel and supporting the stream. But back to the NXT review. We are at the point where Mercedes Martinez faced... I'm sorry, but I didn't catch the name of this female. But she faced a female. She got attacked before the match. by she got attacked before the match by one of either Io Shirai. I think it was Io Shirai attacked her. Yeah, well, like I said, Christopher, I'll continue to support you, mate. 4,000 subscribers, man. I would have imagined that you should have been able to have got to the monetization period. I'm almost certain that if you would have carried on doing that A&E series watch along from the start, I'm almost certain that over the last 4 weeks that you've probably lost about, you know, maybe 200, 300 hours watch time over the last few weeks. So as long as you're going live, I'll keep supporting your stream, mate. Like, for anyone who think, I don't expect anyone to just sit on my channel while I'm live. If they can, they can. But as I will always ask, guys, if you can, and you've got any spare time in the day, maybe you're just doing the gym, maybe you're doing whatever, if you can just run my stream on silent in the background. Every hour for me right now counts. Same for Christopher Mace. Every single hour counts. You know what I mean? But yeah, Mercedes Martinez, she faced a jobber. She was attacked before the match. I think it was by Io Shirai. I'm unfamiliar with Io Shirai. I apologise for that. But I am unfamiliar with her. She was attacked before the match. But she did win the match very quickly. It was a squash match. Of course, Mercedes Martinez is being built up by NXT. She recently, well, not recently now, but she previously returned to NXT from being part of the Retribution group, the failed Retribution group, let's be honest, on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. You know, I think they started on SmackDown and they were traded over to Raw in one of the most ridiculous things that you've seen on WWE, apart from, of course, the Lily behaviour last night. But that's a story for a different time. If you heard me, did I even... To be honest, I can't remember if I did or not, but if I didn't review Raw, I apologise. I may have reviewed Raw. I'm that lost when it comes to WWE because it just becomes like it's literally in my mind, it's just the most formulaic stuff that you could imagine. I didn't review Raw. No, I didn't. I reviewed Dynamite, but I didn't review Raw, possibly because of something kicked off in my brain last night, and I'd say it's probably because of the Shayna Baszler thing. But yeah, Triple H talks to... I have someone written here, but it turns out this is the singer Poppy, who at the very time she released the album, the NXT and Poppy album. I have no actual knowledge of this musical album that she released, but it is out there on Spotify, iTunes, whatever you can find this on, guys. So yeah, go and check it out if you want to listen to some WWE Poppy music or Poppy made WWE music, whatever it may be. I'm not going to sit here and crap on it because I've got no idea. And she will be back on the show at some point as well. Also, Dexter Lumis came out of nowhere and handed Poppy, I've got written here a photo. It wasn't a photo, it was a picture. And then Poppy gave him a hug. At this very second when Poppy gave him a hug, of course, this leads to the Saved by the Bell, every single teenage sitcom Friends type of drama where Indy Hartwell runs upon them. This was ridiculous. I'm going to be honest, this was ridiculous. I'm trying to be calm while I'm doing this NXT review. I don't normally have these kinds of problems with NXT because NXT is new to me. But I've got to be honest, since I've been watching NXT, all I have seen is this Indy Hartwell girl. And I said something about her last week, about her camera positioning. She's clearly not trained as an actress. She clearly hasn't got any sort of training. She's a wrestler. You can tell that this is a girl who wanted to be a wrestler. I can just tell this. Well, for weeks now, I've been listening to her talk about Dexter Lumis, people telling her she should stay away from him. She's been basically playing mind games with this psychopath, yeah? Because that's what he is. He's basically a psychopath. She's been playing mind games with him. She sees Poppy and Dexter hugging, and she has a complete and utter childish meltdown on camera. We don't get to see the result of this, but we get to see the start of this, as in she's screaming like a child and she runs away like she's pretending to cry. This is the kind of stuff that will have me switch off NXT immediately. Because Raw might be doing the stupid shit with the paranormal dolls, but I don't know these women enough to invest. I know Shayna Baszler will kill Alexa Bliss in a real fight, and if WWE wants to book certain stupidness, I can roll my eyes, I can bury it, I can get the views, and I can deal with it. But NXT is so new to me, and I told you guys before, I was AEW all the way, yeah? So I'm going to be honest and say, without a shadow of a doubt, if this nonsense continues, I will have no choice but to just skip by this and not speak about it. I already got very close to that with the Young Bucks. I told you this, guys, that's AEW. So if my patience runs thin with certain wrestlers in AEW, I will have absolutely none of this garbage. Either have this woman commit to Dexter Lumis, or have this woman stay away from Dexter. I have no idea what's going on here. All I know is Samuel Shaw has continued this weird, creepy bastard gimmick from TNA. Now he's in AEW. Now he's in NXT. Lord forbid he ever gets anywhere near AEW. Io Shirai is the former NXT Women's Champion. Yeah, she lost to Raquel Gonzalez. I did see. That's when I first started watching. Horrible acting. NXT wasn't like this when on the network. No, it wasn't. Not from what the things that I seen. I always seen that NXT had good acting, good wrestling, but with wrestlers that I didn't know. So I used to always make fun and say there's no stars in NXT. And of course, when their stars do become stars, they end up going to the main roster. But because NXT is its own brand now, I don't want to see this like lower tier. This was TNA explosion bad. And I've told you guys about this stuff in the NWA where they're trying to cut corners. That needs to stop. WWE, AEW, Impact, NXT, wherever you are, stop trying to insult the intelligence of the wrestling audience. We are no longer 7, 8, 9, 14, 15, 16 years old. We are grown men who see exactly what the hell is wrong with your products. Don't put this crap in front of me. Indy Hartwell is a terrible actress. She should not be anywhere near these backstage segments that force her on cue to act. It's nonsense. Just have her do the gutsy, even if she's a babyface, because I can't even tell you if she's a babyface or a heel. Have her do the gutsy babyface promo or the, bitchy heel promo, but do not have her in the background with this nonsense. It's just stupid. Yeah, that's what I mean. We're grown men. I can't deal with this intelligence insulting stuff. And these programs will quickly go downhill if they do this. But yeah, to the main part of this episode. It wasn't the main event, but it was the main part of the episode. We get the arrival of LA Knight. He'd already cut a promo earlier in the episode, but I didn't speak about that because I'm going to speak about that now. He is showing the audience and also showing, obviously, Ted DiBiase that he has the ability to be the next $1 million man, the heir to the legacy. I mean, why Ted DiBiase Jr. isn't involved in this? I know he's not been in wrestling for quite a while, but why he's not involved in this is beyond me. It's astonishing. Like, we're supposed to just pretend that Ted DiBiase hasn't got a son that is out there. Have I missed something here? Is Ted DiBiase Jr. passed away or something? Not from what I know. I just thought he was a guy who slipped down the roster in the WWE. Have I missed something here? Did something happen to him between 2012 and 2015 when I wasn't watching WWE? I just thought this guy had been fired. Maybe something has happened to him, I don't know. But LA Knight and Cameron Grimes are going to fight over the affection of the $1 Million Man. Well, that's what they were making it look like at first, that they were fighting over the affections of the $1 Million Man. But then they announced it was going to be a ladder match in your house. And Cameron Grimes, although he did go round the houses and he was making absolutely no sense, he asked the question that I had been asking for the previous 35 seconds, which was, what are they fighting for in this ladder match? And that's when I knew. I already knew before, and I'd suspected it previously. I said that they may swerve the crowd by having Jake Atlas be the person who fights, who takes over the legacy of the $1 Million Man, because they've made it so far that these two are both losers and they are fighting over, you know, being the biggest loser. But this actually makes sense now. They've distracted each other. The $1 Million Man has been great in NXT. Yeah, it's people. That's what I mean. People can complain all they want about the veterans in wrestling, but they draw eyeballs to the screen. And if you use them in the right roles, like Ted DiBiase is being used in the right role here to elevate the talent that's beneath them. I mean, I said it on your video. This, or maybe I said it in my description, I think it was. This might have been better if this was on the main roster. I don't know why Eli Drake is even in NXT. If they can work this gimmick out in NXT, I think it should immediately go to the main roster, because it just makes sense for a guy to be treated like a star, like he's practically undefeated. Maybe build a little faction around himself. So Ted DiBiase has 2 sons. And no, Ted DiBiase Jr. retired from wrestling. Eli Drake should have... Yeah, he definitely should have. I reckon he would have been the NWA World Heavyweight Champion by now if he'd have stayed in the NWA. But here we are with Eli Drake fighting over the $1 Million Championship. Because that's what they revealed, guys. They revealed the $1 Million Championship belt. Why on earth this would have nothing to do with any of Ted DiBiase's children. Like, I get it. What they're trying to do, the fact that this belt is being shown in NXT is a disservice to the belt, in my opinion. This should be the main. This should have been Cross being handed an opportunity to be the $1 Million Champion of NXT, meaning the NXT World Heavyweight Champion. Have I got this mistaken? How can this belt be... This is basically the same as the FTW Championship. Now, AEW's got some time to be able to, or maybe a short amount of time now, to be able to actually make this belt relevant. But I don't see, or should I say that belt relevant, but I don't see what WWE's outcome is here. Because the belt now seems like it's a secondary title to already the 3rd heavyweight championship, or 3rd world championship, 3rd main championship, should I say, in the WWE. And if you put prestige on the line here, this championship's prestige is way higher than the NXT championship. Bearing in mind there has only been, what, 5 $1 Million champions, 6 $1 Million champions in the whole time that this belt has been a thing. But nonetheless, like I said, guys, WWE has decided to bring back the $1 Million Championship belt. And it will be contested in a ladder match. And the winner will win the $1 Million Championship. And this match is between, of course, LA Knight, the former Eli Drake, and Cameron Grimes, the former Trevor Lee. Nearly said Trevor Murdoch. Trevor Lee. Who would have thought that 2 guys who joined Impact Wrestling in that real downhill slide of Impact Wrestling, who would have thought that these guys would be the biggest stars in NXT, or, you know, some of the biggest stars in NXT? Who would have thought that these guys would have even made it to WWE television? But yeah, the $1 Million Championship is back. LA Knight, if I had a prediction to make, I'll give you an early prediction for myself. I may do a predictions video, I may not. for In Your House, but I'll give you an early prediction now, and I'll say I think LA Knight's more than likely going to win that, but they could swerve us. Because now it's out of the hands of the $1 Million Man. He could want LA Knight to win, but he also has no choice, really. But then saying that, he could also get involved. He could just screw Cameron Grimes one more time. So either way, it makes it so that, you know, you got your eyes on this match. It's probably the match I want to see the most. We'll get to the main event of In Your House in a second, but yeah, I am looking forward to the ladder match. It should be a good match. The way that they portrayed this as well is like there is only going to be one ladder, an old school ladder match, and I hope that they do that. If Eli Drake and Trevor Murdoch, which there's no reason why Trevor Lee, Eli Drake, if LA Knight and Cameron Grimes, can get it together, there's no reason why these two can't have a match with one ladder involved, which is entertaining. They're more than capable of having a decent one-on-one match in the ring, and you've just got to add the ladder in there as an extra dance partner. They do say 2 is a company, 3 is a crowd, but Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon once proved, well, Shawn Michaels practically had a match with a ladder and Razor Ramon was involved. You know what I mean? Like, not saying Razor weren't in that match, and I was a massive Razor Ramon fan then, so makes no difference. Ted DiBiase, Virgil, Steve Austin, and Ted DiBiase Jr. were the champion. Yeah, exactly. So there's been less than 5 champions in the whole time that belt has been a belt. I think also Savio Vega did actually win the belt one time, but they didn't give it to him, or somebody won the belt and they didn't give it to them. Something like that. Maybe that was even Virgil, I don't know. But yeah, there's been less than... So this is only going to be the 5th champion in the history of this belt. This belt is way more prestigious. So I'm hoping that Eli Drake has this belt, is the champion for a short amount of time, and then we get Eli Drake debuting on SmackDown or Raw, probably SmackDown, as the $1 Million Champion. But I don't know what you guys think. Do you want to see this belt return? I mean, let's be honest. There's no room really on the main roster for any more belts. The 24/7 Championship appears here and there. We never get to see the Cruiserweight Championship. So NXT have him. I mean, how many belts would that make in NXT? 3 male singles championships. Yeah, do you know what? Maybe they can get away with that. No, there's 4. That would make 4. Because there's 4 because of the Cruiserweight Championship as well. So yeah, maybe it is a bit of an overkill. And they've got tag team champions and women's tag team and women's like world title. So for the story purposes, it makes sense if the title, if it is short-lived for the title to be back. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, I'd like to see potentially this gimmick run for about a year, but run maybe 4 months on NXT, 4 months on SmackDown, and then Eli Drake gets traded over to Raw as the $1 Million Champion. And that's where he finally runs into trouble. On Raw, maybe somebody on Raw or on SmackDown, if either way they do it, could then potentially get up against him and win the championship off him. Because this could also be a championship which they could declare, like the women's tag team championships, that can be defended on any of the brands. I don't see why this belt should only be in NXT. This belt, they should announce that this belt has been brought back to WWE, so it can be defended on any of the shows. Because to just put this belt on NXT, what's it going to be called? The NXT $1 Million Championship. It doesn't make sense. This belt needs to be back on mainstream television. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what you guys think or what anyone who'll be watching back thinks about that statement. But I actually think this belt could potentially be the way to transition NXT wrestlers with more of a push onto the main roster. So immediately you start getting Ted DiBiase showing up on Raw with Eli Drake, LA Knight. And then when the going gets tough, he wins a match by maybe cheating, and then he disappears back to NXT for a few more months. And then he turns up on SmackDown in 6 months' time. And, you know, that's what you get from him. Every so often he'll turn up, or maybe someone will come after him. Whoever wins this belt, I am predicting at least a 6-month reign with this championship, if not longer. Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, is this whole thing, and it probably, and remember I said this now, guys. Christopher already said Ted DiBiase Jr. is retired. This guy's got to be under 40 still. Maybe he's 38, maybe he's 37, 38, about the same age as Cody Rhodes and them guys. Do you think for 1 second that he's been sitting at home for the last 3 years, watching Cody Rhodes and the rest of his friends become stars elsewhere, and guys getting elevated up the WWE roster? If he knows, and he's a consummate wrestler, nothing wrong with him, if he knows that there's a chance that he could get in shape and get a run in NXT, don't ever think that they might not do all of this just so that Ted DiBiase Jr. can return and defeat Eli Drake in a few months' time. Never put the WWE nepotism beyond that, because they know that Ted DiBiase is bringing in those ratings, and they want to keep him on the show as long as possible. And it's very weird how they put Cameron Grimes in this role for so long. Didn't just give him the $1 million push. They then brought in LA Knight, and then of course it gives both of them an elevation. But then in the end, this seems like it turns out that it's going to be a way to get Ted DiBiase Jr. as potentially the biggest star in NXT. Because the thing that NXT lacks is characters. And why WWE let guys like Titus O'Neil and guys like Cedric Alexander rot in hell on their main rosters when these guys could easily go down to NXT and be actual stars and main event guys on NXT? Why waste talent that they've already got? Yeah, that's what I mean. Cameron Grimes' character is what gets him over. The bumblingness, all that. If you then transition him into a Ted DiBiase clone, it don't make sense, does it? He has to be himself as the $1 million man. It don't work out. Eli Drake, LA Knight, could easily work into that. And you know that he would sell his soul to become that guy that the $1 million man is. I'm just taking a drink, guys. But yeah, we need to move on to the next segment. The grizzled young veterans. They were in action in a tag team match. Once again, I did not pick up the opponents. The opponents were not what was relevant in this match. It was the people that were sitting on the outside, which was Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa. I nearly said Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa. These guys are not done with each other, but there's no place on the pay-per-view for these guys. Why? I've got no idea. Especially knowing that Ciampa is one of the biggest stars in NXT. I get the feeling like, I'm not going to use the word punished, but like he's suffering because they wanted him to go to the main roster, and he didn't go to the main roster. And like I said, feel no way, guys. These recent budget cuts in the WWE and wrestlers being fired, it leaves spots open for different wrestlers to start appearing. Something's got to give. Not all of these NXT wrestlers will be able to stay in NXT. They need to be able to transition some of these guys onto the main roster. I mean, I'll talk about it more if I remember in the next few minutes when I get to the main event segment, because I'm almost certain that one of those guys is going to the main roster as soon as possible. The Grizzled Young Veterans should be the NXT Tag Team Champions already. Very good tag team. Don't know why they've kept them away from the other tag teams. They obviously want to move away from Thatcher and Ciampa, but the company obviously wants these guys to fight out. And like I said, they're not going to make it onto the pay-per-view, guys. But these guys will face each other next week on NXT in a Tornado Tag Team match. For those that don't know what a Tornado Tag Team match is, it means that all 4 wrestlers are going to be in the match at the same time. No tags. Straight wrestling, straight fighting from the start to the finish. Texas Tornado Tag Team rules in that match next week. And yeah, the Grizzled Young Veterans did win the actual tag team match, by the way. I don't know who it was against, though. Candice LeRae comes out and she calls out someone. I didn't quite catch who she calls out, but she didn't call out the person that came out. Maybe they're trying to make it In Your House into an actual 2-hour event like the old days. I think that's what they are doing, aren't they? I think that's what that is. They keep them to 2 hours. Maybe they go over time, I don't know. But I always thought In Your House was just exactly the same as the old In Your House shows. But yeah, Candice LeRae calls out someone. I'm not sure who she called out. Well, she called out someone, but she didn't get that person. She got Io Shirai, who returned to NXT after Poppy came out and announced her. Poppy was back on the show. And she interrupted Candice LeRae and she introduced Io Shirai. And Io Shirai attacked her, beat her up and sent her packing and stood tall in the ring. So yeah, the former NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai has returned. She looked very healthy. She looked very well. This segment was decent. We get a classic... Sorry about the sound of the paper. They have been writing this on envelopes. You can probably hear the plastic bit of the envelope. Doc Hendricks. We get a classic Doc Hendricks, a.k.a. the Freebird, Michael Hayes. I nearly said Michael Freebird then. There's how you know. Yeah, Michael Hayes, the Freebird. He does the traditional... If you go back and watch any of those 1995, 6 and 7 In Your House promos from Doc Hendricks, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He tries his best to do it. He's not the same guy now. He's much older. He clearly hates anything to do with that Doc Hendricks character. He clearly hates that WWE forced him to be a character that he didn't need to be. You can just tell. Like, you can just tell. And never look further than the paranoia of the WWE when you look at characters like Michael Hayes, who had a name in world wrestling. Like, wrestling worldwide. He was a certified star everywhere he went. And I'm not saying he was the best in-ring worker, and his good days were behind him. But the fact that WWE in 1994 and 5 was shoving down your throat guys like TL Hopper, Mantor, you can't tell me that Michael Hayes, he had injuries, he had policies. You can't tell me that putting him in, in a feud with a guy who was on his way up at the time, maybe, a Lex Luger or someone like that in the 93, 94 era. You can't tell me having Doc Hendricks, Michael Hayes. You can't tell me he couldn't have been able to put himself in that position. They didn't want him to be a talking celebrity, so they turned him into a commentator. Yeah, the best thing, as about him was when he managed the Hardy Boys, yeah? But he was Michael Hayes then, I'm sure he was. And that's when they finally started, you know, letting us know, oh yeah, by the way, Doc Hendricks is Michael Hayes. He's a former Trios, Texas 6-man or United States 6-man, NWA 6-man. He's a former, main event star in one of the biggest promotions that ever competed in professional wrestling in the 80s. But we just decided not to turn him into a star. That always made me wonder, was that something to do with injuries? Because it happened to Doc Hendricks, it happened to Stan Lane, it happened to a few other people who I still think they had time in wrestling. Judging by what we've seen in the last 30 years of guys who shouldn't have been in the ring at their age. Judging by the one-off appearances, I cannot see how Michael Hayes in 1995 was not just allowed to be Michael Hayes. And with the absolute lack of star power. But then you've got to ask the guy himself, haven't you? Why did you not just get in a bit better shape in 1995 and say, you know what, Vince? If you need a guy who's got a semi-name, who could possibly draw some attention and put over a guy like Shawn Michaels, let me know. Or, can put over a guy like Diesel when Diesel's having the worst run as heavyweight champion in the mid-90s. You can't tell me that Michael Hayes, and even if they bought in any version of the Freebirds, yeah, or if they just revamped into the WWE's version of the Freebirds, Michael Hayes' name would have been able to have got him in the WWE main event in 1993, 4, and 5. Maybe not 1996, by the time that Mick Foley and Steve Austin, guys like that, had joined the WWE, and you've seen what kind of a juggernaut the WCW had become. Guys like Michael Hayes weren't the same type of draw. So in 1996, no. It was too late, that was. But in 1994, definitely. 1993 and 4, whenever Doc Hendricks first joined the WWE, if they would have just immediately had him in a feud with a younger guy, they tried to keep it to a more brawling style, tried to do what they did with Roddy Piper and hide the, negatives and accentuate the positives. I reckon they could have got the guy over, but it's tragic when you think about it. But Doc Hendricks, 25 years later, is still trying to convince us that he was never a star in different wrestling. He's just a random backstage personnel of the WWE, apparently. So yeah, I've gone on way too long about that Doc Hendricks promo, but I just thought I'd just shed my light on that matter there. We get Ember Moon, that is, versus Dakota Kai. It's a hyped match. It's not a bad match. It started hot, but there's no finish to this match. I think it ended on a disqualification. I think Gonzalez, who was with Dakota Kai, caused some kind of disqualification in this match. I'll be honest, it just made the NXT Women's Champion look like an idiot. Maybe Ember won the match and I didn't see that, but I'm sure this match ended on a disqualification, and then Ember went on to fend off the attack from Raquel Gonzalez, and she hit her with the Stone Cold Stunner, like flipping type of acid drop that Spike Dudley used to do, his version of the Stone Cold Stunner. Yeah, them two probably will end up breaking up. They don't seem like a very good partnership to me. It just seems like a partnership of convenience between Dakota Kai and Ember Moon. 1 second, guys, while I just check something. What are we at? 65. Yeah, I'm going to keep this running for about another 15 minutes, guys. So, shout out to everyone who's here. Shout out to Christopher Mace for commenting in the comment section below. I'm suffering from the same thing that when I come to your channel, like, there'll be 5 people in the chat, but only one person's talking. Like, I never understand that. Like, for the guy, everybody else who's here, one of the people's me, one of the people's Christopher, and there must be 3 other people here because I'm getting 5 on my device. Shout out to you all that's here. I don't want you thinking that I'm being negative when I say that, but I'm just being honest. If you do want to drop me a comment in the comment section below, feel free to do that. If you don't, then that's okay as well. I just appreciate you being here and giving me this watch time. You know, this will be an extra 5 or 6 hours straight up and down of the watch time, so I'm happy with that. And then I presume there'll be a few people who'll watch this back tomorrow. And like I've been saying to myself for the last few days, if I can try and get, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 hours watch time a day, I'll be at that monetization challenge period as soon as I can possibly get there. So yeah, we get to the main event of the episode. First, we get a Killer Cross promo. Karrion Kross, that is. I still call him Killer Cross. We get a Cross promo, and he basically just says TikTok. It's backstage with Scarlett there. We then go to an advert break. We come back from the advert break. Cross is in the ring. We get an argument between Cross and William Regal, thus leading every single person who's tuned in to wonder why is William Regal not just getting his boots on and fighting this guy rather than us seeing him arguing with him. Now, of course, we know that Steven Regal's going to be probably, or is in his late 50s or mid to late 50s or whatever. That means nothing to me. William Regal, the wrestler, is still one of the top guys in NXT. They just portray him as the managerial guy so that he doesn't take the limelight away from anybody else. But make no mistake that William Regal could be a believable competitor to anybody in NXT as of today, right now. But yeah, Cross is a certified champion. Way too big of a star to be in. When people call this a developmental brand, it irritates me because, yes, it may be that. But when you've got guys like Cross who are on national television every Tuesday night, previously Wednesday night, of course, you can't tell these guys that they're not stars. They are stars. Favourite William Regal match is William Regal versus Ultimo Dragon. Yeah, I enjoyed some of those matches. Well, I enjoyed WCW as a whole. I was a massive WCW fan in the 90s. Most of England was a WCW fan in the 90s. We got WWE pay-per-views here. And I didn't really start watching WWE until they started putting their pay-per-views on free TV here. They had to go free television to get me to watch WWE. And this was when Nitro had got real bad. Cross versus Reign. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, at the end of this, in fact, I'm just going to say it now because I remember now. Cross is in danger here because he's going to be defending his championship against 4 different people. He's cocky. He feels that he's not going to be able to be beaten. He feels undefeatable. He's losing his championship on Sunday, guys. And that's not even a joke. He is. Because if they don't get this guy on the main roster, I don't know who's booking these shows. I don't know who's in control. I am telling you, Vince McMahon, wake the hell up and smell the coffee. Your shows are a mess. Your stars are spread across 3 different brands with nobody else to even get anywhere near them. You need to take the top 6 guys in your company and you need to put them all on the same show. Regardless of who likes that or not, you need to do something. Maybe a wild card where that you have matches or something to determine guys that can go on any show at any time. I'm going to be honest. You need to get Cross and Finn Balor back to the main roster. You need to get McIntyre and Lashley on the same show as Reigns and Cesaro. You need to get all of these guys on the same show. I mean, thank heavens Jeff Hardy got a win on Monday Night Raw. Because I'm telling you, if I'd have... And no disrespect to Cedric Alexander, but if I'd have seen Jeff Hardy get pinned on Monday Night Raw, I think that would have been it. Because, of course, now the goings got tough. So WWE goes back to what they know best. Push the guys that everybody knows. push down the guys that nobody knows, fire the people that we don't want in the company. And of course, if WWE really is being sold, two of the guys that have been expressed clearly behind the scenes, because there is no way that these conversations can take place without Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio being the people who are trying to buy WWE, saying these two should be the, two of the main guys. Do you want to know why? Merchandise. Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio blatantly sell more merchandise than anyone else in the WWE. And I'm leaving a gap of silence there to let that sink into those people who are unaware of these facts. The reason why Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio have been treated the way they've been treated in the last year and a half is because WWE can get away with that. Because they know that they can put Jeff Hardy on TV and have him win 3 or 4 matches and Jeff Hardy's right back on top. And everybody else suffers for that. Because the longer that you keep messing with Jeff Hardy and those, no one's going to take Cross's career seriously. No one's going to take Finn Balor seriously. We need to get these guys onto the same shows. We need to have these guys week after week destroying all competition that gets in their way. WWE needs to reset their company completely. They need to stop trying to give you competitive matches between Sheamus and Ricochet. They need to have Sheamus versus, random guy A squash match defeat. They need to have AJ Styles and Omos versus an upcoming local tag team. Destroy them. Yeah, they need to have Roman Reigns in action every week, beating up jobbers, battering them. Because the fact of the matter is this. It comes down to this point of WWE has got maybe 3 or 4 characters in their company that are practically Teflon to defeats. That's Jeff Hardy, that is Sheamus, and that is Rey Mysterio. Those guys, and maybe you could say The Miz as well. Yeah? The Miz, maybe John Morrison. These guys can be beaten at any time, and no one is affected by them losing. But when they constantly lose, it becomes annoying. I think you could put AJ Styles in there as well. But they've got to start getting these guys into the right kind of order. Because while they've got AJ Styles, feet up, chilling in the tag team division, Jeff Hardy losing every week on Monday Night Raw and main event to random guys. There are guys in the company that are just getting thrust into positions like Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin they shouldn't be in. They should have been the lackeys to Bobby Lashley until Lashley loses his championship. When you try to make them believable singles wrestlers, that's not working. The reason why that's not working is because we all know that on the third brand, they've got guys like Cross who should steamroller through Cedric Alexander. So you can't have Alexander defeat guys like Jeff Hardy. So you see where the problem starts, guys. It's wrestlers that are being portrayed in positions that they are undeserved of against wrestlers that are in positions that they shouldn't really care about. They should just be happy to be there versus the actual stars that can take losses like Jeff Hardy versus the actual stars that can not take losses like Roman Reigns. Yeah, exactly, Christopher. The Hurt Business should never have been broken up. But when I'm looking at this main event here, I'm saying Adam Cole and Cross need to be immediately put onto the main roster. The other 3 should be then the main challengers for the NXT Championship, or the 2 that don't win and the 1 that wins. Because I'll give you another preview. I think another prediction. I think more than likely Johnny Gargano's winning that belt in your house, because he's the one that was previously a champion, lost, then he's been elevated to where he is. The rest of them have been drifting around that level. Maybe you could say Kyle O'Reilly, but someone's got to take the pinfall, guys. I'm looking at this from perspective of Cross is not getting pinned, neither is Cole. Dunn, I don't think it's his time yet. I think he's close, but I think he maybe is next or after that. I think someone's got to lose. Kyle O'Reilly. I think the winner's going to be Johnny Gargano. I think because the other two have to get off this brand. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Pete Dunne will go after. I think Gargano will pin O'Reilly. Yeah, this is my prediction. Gargano will probably pin O'Reilly. I'll probably change this over the next couple of days. But right now I'm thinking Gargano is going to pin O'Reilly. He's going to defeat O'Reilly. They're going to go into a feud for who is the, like, basically the former this, former that. I know that normally they do the I didn't get pinned stuff. No, I think they're going to go into an O'Reilly versus Gargano situation. I think Pete Dunne's going to go on to face Kushida. And then down the line, I think Pete Dunne will defeat Gargano for the championship. But Pete Dunne's got to get a bit more of that face character back. Because this, I'm the baddest man in NXT, it's getting on my nerves now. Like, stop saying that line. I swear someone's putting a rib on him because he keeps saying that backstage. I'm the baddest man in NXT. It's like, I don't believe you, bro. And for me, it looks like Cross would eat you alive, mate. And I mean eat you alive in a fight, but whatever. But yeah, back to this segment to finish it off, guys. They all talk. Basically, it's Regal and Cross. Cross shuts Regal down, tells him to shut up. O'Reilly comes out, tells Cross about the gas station guy got to him last week, meaning Cole. Gargano then comes out, he talks some stuff. Then Dunn comes out with the I'm the baddest man in NXT bullshit. Christopher Mace, Kyle O'Reilly was an excellent singles wrestler in Ring of Honor. Yeah, he was. But he was also good in the tag team as well. But the progression is right. He's moved from tag team wrestling to singles wrestling. He's taking the fall. Everybody else needs elevating higher. Pete Dunne can kind of stay where he is. I think Johnny Gargano's winning. Maybe Pete Dunne will win, but I'm thinking Johnny Gargano's winning. I'm thinking it's going to be heel to heel, but the face is going to get pinned, meaning O'Reilly's getting pinned by another heel in the match. They all talk. And then I think O'Reilly is the one that just basically says enough. Or is it Dunne? Oh no, it is O'Reilly, because Cole cuts them all off, talks some crap. He's not in the actual ring. All the rest of them are near the ring. Cole is backstage cutting a promo. When I said backstage, I'll say in a second. And then O'Reilly walks straight up to Cross, slaps him round the face. Cross immediately hits him with a forearm. And then they brawl. Cross sends him flying. He then sends Dunne flying. He sends Gargano flying. And he ends up where Cross is the one that's standing tall after a few, where they manage to resurge into the fight. But Cross ends up standing tall out of all of them. But then, just as Cross is posing, bang, Adam Cole, Bay. Now, this is the most impressive I've seen from Adam Cole. This sly, I'll sucker punch you or sneak attack you makes sense. Adam Cole acting like he's got traps and shoulders the size of, 1991 Sid Vicious is stupid. He could have the literal balls the size of apples, mate. Yeah? We don't know. We don't get to see the size of his balls apart from when he's actually in the ring. There were some good shots in this segment. I like how NXT goes with the... I'm not going to say the you can't wrestle thing because it's blatantly obvious that all of these guys can wrestle. But, you can tell that Cross backstage and in real life has got a bit of a insecurity complex about maybe not being the best of this bunch of wrestlers, Cross has still got the... If he was where he is now in 2010, meaning let's say in 2010 or 11, or maybe say 2009, if this version of Cross was the ECW champion, Cross would have gone on then to have become probably the biggest star in wrestling eventually, because his style was the blend between I can go and I can also do the strong style, Batista, Cena. So he could have hung with those guys, and he could have hung with Jeff Hardy and those likes of those guys again. So if he was in either TNA or on ECW in 2009-10, Cross would have been perfect. But those guys have gone on to create a little bit of a stigma. Since wrestling got smaller, it's not the case of, oh, I'm bigger than you now. It's the case of, you can wrestle better than me now. Because we all know how wrestling's changed over the last decade. It's gone from, you needed to be still jacked up and still be able to go, looking something like, let's say, a prime Robert Roode, maybe from 3 or 4 years ago, where he was jacked up, but he still had a bit of a gut, but he looked like a heavyweight champion and he could go inside of the ring. Those wrestlers there have quickly been pushed aside for the likes of, the AJ Styles style in the ring. It took long enough for guys like that to get on top. But let's be perfectly honest, the AJ Styles, CM Punk, springboard elbows, dives, flips, etc. has become the norm for wrestling. And a guy like Killer Cross doesn't do those things. So he stands out like a sore thumb. And although he's a badass, and he'll beat the crap out of most of these guys, or all of them, to be honest, let's be fair, guys. If you added in Finn Balor to this match, apart from Pete Dunne's ground and pound style, this match is a cruiserweight match at best, without Cross inside of this match. Luckily, Cross is a giant in a room full of mediocre, well, not mediocre, so I shouldn't say mediocre, but vanilla midgets. And it is true, they are. This is the WCW Cruiserweight division from 1997. And you can't tell me that it's not. It is. You've got guys, you've got Cross, who's got the same body look as, somewhere between, say, Disco Inferno and Booker T. Chris Benoit, that kind of look, style, jacked up a bit, can move, suplex, all those kind of things. Like, lest we forget that Killer Cross, his whole wrestling persona is based on a 1999 professional wrestler who, was honing his skills there. Because, let's be honest, his style is so different from every single person that is in NXT. I can't even think of anyone who still wrestles now who has the... And I don't just mean like Kurt Angle suplexing like Chad Gable because you're an Olympic wrestler. I mean suplexers, clotheslines, forearms, punches, power slams, power bombs. Killer Cross has the look of a 1990s wrestler. He looks like a man. Looks like a real man compared to some of these wrestlers. You can't tell me when you look at Killer Cross, you don't see a grown man. No disrespect to even some of the guys in AEW like Hangman Page. But look how jacked up that Killer Cross is as a man compared to Hangman Page. Hangman Page needs to put on like 25 pounds of muscle and get himself into the real world of heavyweight wrestling. And this is the problem with wrestling nowadays, guys. They are scared of the word heavyweight. Look at the size of Miro compared to Kenny Omega. Look at the size of Miro. He looks like Lashley. He looks like Roman Reigns. A giant, grown man who will beat the hell out of you. So why on earth in AEW, and this is me criticizing AEW, one thing that WWE has got right now is the 3 strongest, biggest, most powerful wrestlers, regardless of who can flip, dive, or whatever. The strongest, most powerfulest, most dominating, most physical, most fucking overpowering wrestlers are the guys that are the champion. Lashley, Reigns, and Cross. And then beneath them is, of course, you know, guys like Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Cesaro. These are grown men. Kevin Owens, grown man. Guys like Big E, grown man. Doesn't matter what gimmicks they are, they're grown men. Now, I'm not criticizing AEW by saying this, because I love Jungle Boy. But when you look at Jungle Boy versus Kenny Omega, you see two cruiserweight guys fighting for the world title. And I'm sorry, but I have to say that right now. When you see Jungle Boy versus Miro, you see Jungle Boy fighting the heavyweight champion of the world, fighting in the fight of his life, trying to barely escape this bear. Can anyone see what I'm on about here? The main champion has to be a big, not even jacked up, but just a big fucking guy. A grown man. None of this flippy, I'm a better wrestler than you. It doesn't work for me. It does not work for me. Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano and all these guys can be the best wrestlers in the world. But when I'm looking at that roster of people, and I look at in-ring, I'm saying Cross needs to get to about a 7 in the ring before I'm already saying he needs to be the champion. And of course now he is the champion. And it makes sense to me. The rest of them, no matter how good they are in the ring, they need to get to about a 9.5 of charisma, believability, and actual, you know, reasoning for these guys to be legitimate challengers. Because that's where NXT has had to do what they've had to do right now, guys. They've had to book a 5-way match. Because it's not believable that any of these guys on their own could defeat the monster. But let's just hope, guys, that the monster that is Karrion Kross is heading to either Raw or SmackDown. Maybe he'll debut on SmackDown next Friday with the fans being back. Because make no mistake about it, he may be a heel in NXT, but he's going to get a face reaction. And there's got to be a reason why WWE has recently released Aleister Black and Braun Strowman. Those two say to me that there's going to be a upper mid-card guy joining Raw and joining SmackDown over the next few weeks. Not the same guy, but two different guys are going to be joining the rosters in the next few weeks. Why WWE didn't sign Carlito, I've got no idea. They have the chance to get him then. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think. What do you think of this situation? Because it's so obvious that Kross is losing this belt. You guys can tell me I'm crazy once again. And maybe they're just building Kross. Kross wins this match. Where do they go from there? There is no one to defeat him. What are you going to do? You're going to put him in a 20-man battle royale where everyone is in the match and then, yeah, fair enough, they get him over the top rope so that everybody else can fight for the belt. Because that is the only way you're going to get this belt off this guy if he wins this 5-way. I'm almost certain that Kross is going to the main roster. And he needs to do as well, guys. So does Finn Balor. So does Adam Cole. I don't know if they need to do a trade where they send, you know, I'm sure Daniel Bryan would love to be on NXT. But, you know, a trade where they maybe send, you know, Shelton, Cedric and somebody else there. Because Shelton versus Cedric in NXT could be a decent upper mid-card feud. But on the Raw roster, it's the bottom of the card. It's a curtain-jerking match. Simply because they're just not suited. And the longer they keep guys like that on the roster with Lashley, it's just going to keep reminding you of why they should have never broken up the Hurt Business. But yeah, I think that we've gone long enough right now. I think that we've run it to the point where NXT has been dissected. This was a decent show of NXT. It certainly wasn't a bad show of NXT, and I'm going to say that now, guys. Like, I have been quite heavily critical of the NXT brand and, you know, just overall perception that NXT is 1 minute it's a developmental territory and then it's this big time thing. It's on pay-per-view, so as long as it's on pay-per-view, it can be considered in the list of main promotions. 2 years ago, NXT was in the top 3 of wrestling. The only reason that NXT is in the top 3 of wrestling now is because Raw and SmackDown have become practically unwatchable in their whole form. SmackDown has improved. So I'd solidly put SmackDown at 3rd. I'd put NXT at 2nd now. And I'd put AEW at 1st. But I'll say this now. The only reason that is the way that is because the NWA in their season 4 of NWA Power really offended me with some of those episodes. Although the pay-per-view on the Saturday and the episode of NWA Power tonight makes episodes of Raw and SmackDown look ridiculously bad. So I'm saying now, Raw is number 5. I think NWA at this point is 4 because of their troubles, but it is rising. SmackDown is 3rd, NXT is 2nd, and AEW is of course 1st for me. This episode of NXT was probably a 7.5 out of 10. I'm only saying that because of the $1 million reveal and because it did have some reasonable wrestling. There was nothing else on this show that stood out. It was a go-home show. I expected something, but not everything. I am looking forward to In Your House, and I will be watching In Your House at the weekend, of course. Accentuate the positives, hide the negatives. That's all I'm going to say for NXT for now. AEW is once again on Friday, I believe. So there will be no wrestling on the channel tomorrow or Thursday. At this point, I've kind of given up with Impact just because they can't hold my attention. There are 2 people in Impact that I am interested in. I will catch up on Impact eventually. And it had a chance why AEW was on Friday for Impact to creep in there. I may watch Impact on Thursday, but I'm not going to promise anything. But yeah, there'll be no wrestling tomorrow. There probably will be no wrestling on Thursday, but there will be wrestling on Friday. I'm hoping for a good end to the week. It's been a pretty decent week. I could have gone insane at the Shayna Baszler end last night, but I was still on a high from AEW Dynamite over the weekend and NWA When Our Shadows Fall. So it wasn't enough to drag me down. And then, yeah, that's what I mean. I've got to make a decision with Impact over the next couple of days whether I'm going to carry on watching and catch up or I'm just going to leave it there. But yeah, Raw wasn't enough to drag me down to the floor because NWA Power managed to bring me back up and NXT has topped that off nicely. So for those who want a current update on my status as wrestling, I'm happy to continue where I am now, and there will be more live streams and reviews as regards to updates. But yeah, until the next time we talk about wrestling, guys, please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.